Hey guys, if you like this content, I would greatly appreciate it if you guys like the video and subscribed to my channel. It helps make these videos worth it going forward. Hey guys, Altcoin Sherpa here with a crypto market review. Today I will be reviewing just the state of the market and where I think everything's going to go. As always, this is not financial advice. I am not an expert. Do your own research. So yesterday we had a very violent dump in general. It was a very ugly last few days for BTC and the entire crypto market for that matter. And really it was a painful experience for a lot of traders. This is not going to be just TA that I'm going to be talking about just right now. If you are not super experienced as a trader, I would recommend that you do not use leverage, especially in situations like this. During the overall big altcoin run where the entire market was simultaneously pumping during January, that's a time when you can use leverage and it'll be fine because any dip will just get bought up and everything will just keep going higher. And while altcoins did really do well in February, March, and April, they were more sector specific pumps where you saw like old dinosaur coins pump like EOS and Neo. Or you saw coins like the Solana coins, like SRM, Solana, the SAM coins. They all did well, and then they accumulated. It really just depends in general when you look at the coins. They weren't all, the entire altcoin market, in other words, was not simultaneously pumping like it was in January. This is the time when you can really use leverage if you aren't super experienced. I mean, I really just encourage people to not use leverage, period, if they are not experienced. But if you must use it in super bullish situations like this. Or like the ETH run recently. That's also a time. But in very choppy market conditions and situations where the overall trend is somewhat unclear, then it's time to not use leverage. And this yesterday was a good example. I know, I think I read some hundreds of thousands of accounts got liquidated yesterday. And it's really unfortunate because people want fast money and they want to get rich very quickly. And that's not really the sustainable way of doing it in trading. If you want to learn, being a retail trader like this, it's more sustainable and slower. You pay your dues, you lose lots of money at first, and then you slowly get better and better. But a lot of people just want to make the quick gains really quickly and just make a lot of money very fast. But that usually results in very risky situations that result in liquidation. So anyways, what I'm trying to get at is just be careful, stay in the game, and just try to survive as long as you can while you still learn. So as you guys have seen the last several market reviews, I've been very cautious in general just because I saw the daily structure get lost on BTC USD on the 1 day. As you can see right here, this was an overall bullish structure with higher highs across the board and then higher lows. And once this area around 50K got breached, this to me was a lower low on the daily. And the 1 day trend is something that you should really pay attention to, and it really depends on what you denote as a low. But I mean, to me, this was a low established on April 26 around 50,000, and to me that was a lower low than 51 or 52K, depending on how you denote it. And what we saw here too was a lower high formed around 58K, and high sell volume coming in, and then obviously market just dumped. As of right now, I think that you have to say that the 1 day is in a bearish market structure, and this is a lower low obviously than anything that we saw before, whether you denote this 43K area as the last significant low. This is obviously lower than that. Now, does that mean that crypto is going to go to zero and this is going to go to 15,000 or 10,000? You never say never with crypto. I don't know, but I personally don't think so. I think that we saw the relatively the lows put in for the most part. But it's also very important to understand that lows take a long time to establish. to get established, especially after like such a big move down. There's a lot of chop that usually happens after. And as you can see, like these last few moves, these weren't even as big of moves as what we just saw, but they still took like a week or more to overall just kind of resolve itself. And if you look back at some of the other dumps back that BTC USD had, like this, obviously the big cascade liquidations in March of 2020, this had really interesting preceding price action. But across like big moves from BTC, they usually almost always take several days to kind of resolve itself, as I said, to put in the lows, however you want to phrase it. What I'm viewing personally is I am viewing BTC to potentially go up to 50,000 from here. I'm not really saying that is very certain possibility. Something like this would make a lot of sense to me, where we see like more chop in general. Something similar to January 20, like the late January area, would kind of make sense to me. Like we saw big moves down and up, like lots of volatility, but this in general was really good for the altcoin market. And to me, it would make sense that BTC goes up to something like $50,000. I mean, I don't know if it'll get there right away. I do feel strongly that at least 50,000 will get tapped again. Like I don't think that this will just keep cascading down to like the 20Ks. Again, never say never. It's BTC, but I personally think that with the amount of liquidations that happened yesterday, I think that there are some more inefficiencies to tap higher, and that the relative lows are put in. However, with that said, it would not surprise me at all to see like 33K tapped eventually. As you can see across these other moves, like generally speaking, when you see Bitcoin put in a low, so you'll see like big spike down, impulse move down. You'll see price chop around for a while, and then it'll slowly grind up, hit like a lower high, and then it'll get close to like those lows again. And it'll either break those lows or it will get close to the lows. So you'll see like either a break of the lows, or you'll see it grind up and get close to the lows, form like a higher low. And then it will continue to grind and then like go higher. Like that's been the trend across BTC, across really a lot of different situations. Anytime you see like this type of price action, and because we've been in a bullish market structure since 2020, this is something I still expect to happen. Just because of how big this move down took, I think it will take a little bit more time to kind of chop around. I don't feel that this move is as significant as we saw in March 12th or 13th, 2020, just because of how big those liquidations were relative to the market back then, compared to how this move down was now. Like this was a huge move, don't get me wrong, but like I don't really know if we'll see like this type of price action like we saw at April 2020, where you just saw it grind up, like, you know, this right here. This is just kind of unusual price action for BTC USD. Like you don't really see this type of price action normally for a bottom. Like it doesn't make a V-shaped reversal very often. My suspicion is because, or my reason for that, in my opinion, is that it's just like a more liquid market than altcoins, where altcoins don't need very much money to pump, whereas BTC is like obviously the biggest market in crypto, and like altcoins are easy to make V-shaped reversals because it doesn't take as much money to reverse. But BTC, as we saw before, it needs like kind of these long accumulation periods that we saw like at the end of 2018, early 2019. And then we saw it accumulate a lot throughout 2020, all throughout just like this is why BTC did so well later on, is because it had these long accumulation periods all throughout 2020. And this is also a good reason why altcoins did really strongly too during 2020, is because BTC had these long accumulation periods. I will potentially do a thread on accumulation, but accumulation, just a quick note too, this is like what accumulation looks like. It's just tight candles, low volatility, not much movement in general. It's just kind of like you can see the same thing here. Like just not much price action, just kind of ping ponging overall, and like very thin candles. Like this is like a chop hell for a lot of day traders who will get chopped up during this type of price action because it's there's like not much going on. Whereas what we saw for this current price action, a good reason why I was very suspicious of this being accumulation was because of how much volatility there was. And this was more highlighted too on higher time frame charts, where you saw like pretty bearish candle closes in general and just like big wicks in each direction with high sell volume. Like it didn't really remind me of accumulation personally. And so anyways, where do I think the market is going at this point? I think that what we see is I believe, and this could just be bullish hopium, I think that the relative lows are put in. 28K or maybe a little lower could be tapped, of course. It's certainly possible. Like there's still going to be like some levels here that didn't get reached. But I think that the relative low of 29K or so is in. Like I don't suspect this going to low 20s personally. I would be pretty surprised if that happens. I think that what we see now is we see something like this where we see some grinding up price action, maybe hit 50K, come back lower, and then like chop around. Like something like this is something that I suspect. And it's also possible that it just hits like a lower high at like 45K, and then it revisits somewhat close to the lows around 32. Everyone gets super bearish again. Similar to how we saw again, like all throughout these other dumps that we saw earlier in 2021. And I did a tweet as well that kind of looked at some of the lows in Bitcoin. It's possible that 35K was the low, but I still wouldn't be surprised at all to see like 32 or 33K get tapped or so. But there's a lot of options. The bottom line is that I think that there is a lot of chop to come. I think that we'll see some consolidation. And I do think that Bitcoin in general is going to have its second run in the winter. I think, again, could be blind hopium, could just be something that I am hoping for because I'm a net long crypto. But I think we just established our range from 65K to 30K. Like this to me would make sense. Something like this would make sense to me. Where price just trades around these levels over the next few months. And this is pretty necessary in my opinion as well. Like price really went insane, like from 10K to 60K pretty quickly. And this type of consolidation would be necessary in order to hit these higher targets like 75K or 100K later this year. Like I still feel that this is going to happen, but it's going to take a lot of consolidation. Like again, the reason why it moved so strongly in 2021 is because, or 2020, I guess, is because of what it did in the previous parts of 2020, like the earlier parts. All throughout the summer, all throughout the spring, it just consolidated and just did pretty much nothing. It just ranged. We need to see this type of price action for Bitcoin if we want to see price go higher to break all-time high levels. It's possible that this is it. Maybe this is just it, and maybe this is just it for a long time. But I personally still feel that Bitcoin will be bullish and make a second run in the coming months. But it's going to take a lot of like ping pong action, and because I think that this ping pong action will happen, I feel that altcoins will also actually break all-time highs. And again, maybe it's hopium, maybe it's just like total bulltard. Maybe it's just like me being incredibly bullish. Like if you look and zoom out, like yeah, this 1 week doesn't look great by any means, but it's still a super bullish trend. That wick down was very nasty, and it's entirely possible this just continues lower and just goes to like 2,000 and lower and starts closing below. That's entirely possible, but I still feel that this is a bullish chart, and I think that price is going to form a low. and then it'll grind higher. Again, maybe just bullish hopium. I don't know, but to me, this is still like it still looks okay. Uh, and yesterday was obviously pretty gross in general, but like I'm expecting the low to be formed. I do expect a lot of chop though for altcoins. Like I wouldn't really necessarily just go all in on these current entries. And I still feel that this is choppy. Like it's entirely possible this makes a short-term lower high. In fact, that's what I'm expecting it to do. I'm expecting it to make a short-term lower high. Um, Something like this would make a lot of sense to me. Like we go up, break down, but then we also make like a higher low. So we see something like this. This would make a lot of sense to me. Um, something like this, and it could be even longer. It could like take a little longer, like to go ahead and resolve itself. Like we might see something like this. It just like chops around for a while, and then just goes. This is kind of like what I'm expecting. Like again, if BTC comes near those lows again, then like 2200 should be tapped again. But let's just see. Like I'm not exactly sure, but the ETH chart looks to me better than the BTC USD chart personally. But yeah, I still feel that this will do fine, but it might need to cool off a little bit for a little while. Another reason why I want to really talk about alts doing well is because I thought that the charts for like coins like YFI still looked pretty strong. Yesterday's wick down was obviously very gross, but the way that price looked before yesterday, this doesn't really remind me of like a market top, the way that price continued to consolidate all throughout 2021. Sure, there were some big moves. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, like the move from like 25K all the way up to like 50K, like that was a great move over the course of several months. But relative to other altcoins that went like 5, 6, 10x, this didn't really have a ton of movement. But this to me still looks like accumulation, and I personally still feel that this is going to go to break these higher levels. Again, maybe I'm just super hopium because I'm net long, but the way that price just ranged for several months, I mean, this still looks pretty good. And again, yesterday was pretty nasty, don't get me wrong, but this is a big reason why I feel that many altcoins will do well in the coming weeks and months. So this is kind of the chart I'm viewing, and a lot of other altcoins, they don't look as good as this usually, most of them, but I still feel this is like pretty strong. So I guess let's just see. And like another reason why is like many alt BTC charts, they also still look okay. Maybe this is just it. Like maybe this is like it couldn't break this 100K sets level, and it'll just keep going lower. But like coins like Link, BTC, I still feel will go for the highs. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I kind of was a little longer than I expected, but definitely lower the leverage if you aren't experienced, and just be safe out there. Thanks.